We live in a fast-paced and hectic world where it's easy to feel overwhelmed, stressed, and out of control. How do you manage all the competing pressures without losing sense of yourself? How do you stay focused enough to not only plot a path, but follow it? Welcome to Recovery Road, a show that offers inspiration, insight, and intelligence, as well as success stories from many walks of life that can show you how you can control your own destiny. Our knowledgeable and entertaining hosts and their guests give practical advice that you can use every day on your road to recovery. Now, here are your hosts, Leaha Mattinson and Greg Bird.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Master Your Life, the show of insight, intelligence, and inspiration, where I ask you each episode to consider who is it you are right now and who is it you most want to be? What kind of life are you trying to create? And are you getting there? Are you making the baby steps to make the strides that you really want in your life? Are you struggling? Are there some things that need some tweaking? That's what we're here to explore. I'm host Leaha Mattinson. On this episode, I'm joined by Greg Bird. Greg, how are you doing today?
Amazing, actually, in the words of my wise son, Gavin Gregory Bird. But yeah, excited to be here. Thank you, Leaha. And we have a special guest here today as well.
We do. Can you introduce our special guest?
Would love to. So welcoming to your stage, Leaha, Mr. Jacky Phung, made to measure. I met Jacky a couple of years back, actually sought this guy out after shaking hands, trading business cards, all that fun stuff. And I thought, there's another person in this world that shares that same common mission of doing good and doing what's right and good in this world. And it's my pleasure today to bring him to your stage. When we first brought him on, just as a conference call, I think you were blown away, Leaha, were you not? What was your initial thoughts of Jacky?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's because of the parallels. It's just funny because we've been talking along, the last 4 episodes about where are all the men and what is it that men and women are doing and why are people so confused about what they're supposed to be doing? And Jacky speaks directly to that in some of the work that he is working away diligently at, trying to bring in kind of this new paradigm for men. So I'm happy to have Jacky as a guest on the show. Welcome, Jacky.
Awesome. Thank you. It's been my pleasure today, invited by Greg and you, Leaha, to join the stage. This is very new to me, but I'm really thankful that I'm able to share my life insights with both of you, and hopefully it can inspire people around the world for them to move forward in their life.
Yeah,
really
awesome.
Thankful.
Yeah, needed more now than ever. So, Jacky, we always start the show with a meme. So,
What is that? What is that?
Because we have our little flow. Greg's ready with his meme. What's the meme for today, Greg?
We got 2 memes of the day. So I'm going to ask you, Leaha, because you're the boss, do we want to do the one that my little birds gave, the funny one about Darth Vader, or do we want to do the serious, aw one?
Oh, no, do the funny one.
Funny one? All right. This one's Darth Vader, philanthropist. It says, strong people don't put others down. They lift them up. So he's doing
Hold it right in there so people can see what he's doing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So that might be how some of you felt in 2020.
That compression, that choking feeling. Yeah, that was the force, the dark side of the force. Let's be specific. So that was funny. So that was actually from my friend Gordon McCallum, who I used to go to university with. We were in the same commerce program, and he's got a successful business here in Edmonton. So that was thanks to Gord. So we got another one in my network from Valerie Phillips Boyle. Are you ready for the awe one?
Yes.
She says, she writes a message, comment. It's all about making a difference and creating positive ripple effects with little hearts and a smiley face. So this one's, the size of your audience doesn't matter. Keep up the good work.
So
boy
cute.
playing his flute to a little kitty cat. So there you go. So if we're performing today for one little kitty cat or one soul out there, that's the perspective we're going to take, right, Leaha?
Absolutely. Bring in the juice. Just for the one who's ready to hear our message. So today I am so happy to have you two here because I've been dying to know the answer to this very important question, men. Is chivalry dead?
Was that one at me? Is that question?
Yeah, sure. You can start, Greg. That's a tough one.
Is chivalry dead? No, Leaha, it isn't. It's been diminished. I'll give you that. But I love that, and why we titled the show "Be a Man: The Charisma Movement." There was a this charisma topic that Jacky and our good friend Romy as well, he's going to be on a future episode, I believe, talking about this because he talks about community. But Jacky is more of the creator. How can he really inspire? And there's a word that I want to use for Jacky, what he's helped me in my life when I felt I was a broken man. We've made many mistakes in our life, but I can look back at some of the choices, the behaviors that I've had throughout my life, and I just had to call myself out. It's time to make a difference. You know, how can I take where I'm at? What can I learn from my past? And how can I be a better man and be a better dad to my kids? Be a better future husband to my future wife? How can I then reverberate that into the future in my network? When we talk about legacy, not only for family, personally with our family, friends, and network, community, and also to complete strangers. So we started to dissect the word charisma. So let's start there. You ready?
Yes, ready.
Charisma, the meaning. So the meaning of charisma, if you actually look it up, it says is compelling attractiveness or charm that can inspire devotion in others. And it's not about, Leah, you brought up a very important point here. It's not about being an extrovert. So Leah, if you want to comment on that?
Oh, yeah. I think it's confused. Charisma is confused with extroversion all the time, and they're not the same thing. You can be very charismatic without being introverted also. Actually, introversion and extroversion are just where you draw your energy from. So if you're introverted, you draw your energy from solitude. When you're extroverted, you draw your energy from the people that are external to you. So that's really what all those mean. People kind of get it confused with somebody that's like, woo, that's extroversion. It's not really. So that can be charismatic, but it isn't necessarily also. So let's get into what the expert has to say about what is this whole, what is it to be charismatic, and what is this charismatic movement that you three gentlemen have kicked off?
Let me start. For example, let's say us three right now. I'm the most not talkative so far, right? But doesn't mean I don't exude an energy that people can feel. So which means in society, we're very caught up in what we can see rather than the things that we cannot see. So for me, what I find that being charismatic is you have to know yourself, you have to own yourself, and you have to be yourself to the best you can be. And from that, exude this energy that people can feel. And that to me is more charismatic than only the physical. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally, Jacky. And again, why I wanted you to speak on this is you were so wise to me, and there was something that drew me to you, and there was something to be said for that. I'm going to start by the number one thing out of the 10 different things we talk about as you dissect charisma, and that's confidence. And it's not cocky confidence. It's actually more humble confidence. So when I first met Jacky and shook his hand, you can not just hear his voice and see him, you can actually feel it and what he's trying to do and what he's trying to accomplish. And that's what drew me to him. And that's actually the first point of this whole charisma movement. How can we inspire people to be more confident in themselves? Jacky?
Yeah, before that confidence comes from being yourself without any external influence. So I'll give you an example. So you know how when we're back in, imagine we're three of us is back in our junior high days. Some of us maybe get influenced from peer pressure. Hey, do you want to smoke? Do you want to do this and do that? To me, when I was a young child, I was not influenced at all from peer pressure, because I always think to myself, who am I as Jacky? Who do I choose to be? And from time, made a lot of mistakes. And through time, that internal force allowed me to, as you say, be confident. So confidence does not only come from outside, it's an internal knowingness that who you choose to be is the valid way. Not being ignorant, but being a very open-minded way. So when I interact with you, Greg, in the beginning, I saw you as, okay, this handsome gentleman. He's very good at what he does. The way he carries himself through his body language, through his voice, is very rooted and humble. I knew that from our interaction. So when I went to your office, I'm very privileged for me to share my knowledge with you, so you and your team can elevate. That's why there's a Jacky in the world, for me to share the experience. And through that, you felt it, you knew it, beyond what I dress. So it's an internal knowingness that allows me for you to feel and know. And that's, to me, is confidence or charisma. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jacky, for sharing that. And Leaha, I just want to hear your comments. Why is that important from your perspective?
Oh, I think because we're talking about men today, we're going to stay talking about men today and not talk about the ladies. Ladies, we're going to talk about ourselves next week or another episode. But I think from a female looking in at males, and I'm the mother of by birth one son, and then I raised another. So I had boys, and I've been around a lot of young men and worked with a lot of men as an executive coach and consultant over the span of about 30 years. And one of the things I can absolutely say is that the very best leaders I ever worked with had exactly that quality. They were confident, and it was an internal knowing of their ability in life to navigate life. And even when they made mistakes, they didn't run themselves over, like they didn't talk poorly about themselves. It was like, oh, there was a lesson. And then they just went on to whatever was the course correction right away. So that was what I would say that I notice about people who are confident and how that works for them. They attract more in their life. They attract more opportunities. They attract more opportunities both with men and with women. They attract more job opportunities. And so life kind of opens up to people who are confident. And when people's confidence is shaken, which can happen through a lot of things, illness is one that happens that takes people down a notch or two, or having problems in relationships, those kinds of things, unexpected things out of the blue, then it's the rest of the components of the charisma thing that I think that help to shore up that confidence. Greg?
Thank you for sharing that perspective, Leaha. And what's so cool, I was chairing a call just before this with my new mentorship club here at PPI, and I had a guest speaker who's one of our top 5 female advisors that we have at PPI. Currently has the number 3 size assets under management book, and her name's Tracy Duff, and she's actually tuning in live. She's subscribed to your channel, and I've got actually a couple hundred different advisors excited about these messages that we're bringing to the world. It's these secret strategies, but really it's not a secret. It's been out there the whole time. It's who can you connect with and really hear the good message that they're trying to do. And she actually, without knowing what we were talking about today, said to my group of newbies in the room that are literally in their first year of business, she says, charisma is what I work on every single day to be successful for not only myself, my family, my marriage, but also for my whole entire business and all of her client relationships. And I thought, wow, the synchronicity in what she said, words of wisdom, being one of the best advisors I'm connected with, what she does really, really well is she's just got this level of maturity. And we've mentioned this, that sometimes getting your nose bloodied in life or in business can be a very, very valuable asset if you look at it from what you've learned. And Jacky, the number 2 thing we try to help people with is some of that maturity, but also humility. That's 1, 2, and 3. So Jacky, your comments on that?
Yeah, the charisma, humble. But let's dissect. Where does humble come from? Humble, in my opinion, is not only a choice. It is a choice, but it's not only a choice. Before humbleness, you have to. For me, I recognize what I would say I'm more spiritual. I know what God has given me from day one. If you don't know that part, then you're not able to be humble, because we're caught up in our ignorance or pride and ego. So for me, I made a lot of mistakes in my life. The same in my soup business. I made a lot of mistakes. I've been trained from an accountant that taught me the business. So if I was not humble enough, how would I be able to apply that knowledge? I can think to myself, I'm the best dressed guy in the room, but if I'm not able to learn from an accountant, how can I get better? So humbleness comes from a choice, but more importantly, it comes from my willingness, our willingness to evolve. And why are we willing to evolve? Is because that's life's process. That's life's meaning that gives it a more sense of beingness. So humble charisma, it comes from confidence, but before that, comes from experience, but before that comes from knowing and choosing to be rooted and grounded in one's core. And as a result, everything flows into place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think you pick up making a good point, and something that we talked about prior to jumping on this call, which is the context of God in people's lives. And you mentioned that you know that you're God-given who you are, and that make a list as long as your arm. 50 things to be a certain particular way, but if you don't know who or what is kind of your divine intelligence, you don't have that knowing. So you're often blown off course all over the place. And the other interesting thing right now, I think that you point out beautifully, is the idea of collaboration, and that humble collaboration with other people. So you're taking people's insights and wisdoms and you're applying them in your life for your success and their success as well. And what's happening right now that's cool, that's not happened at any other time for the last about 800 years, for sure the last 30, is that there's not been the energy of that. So God gives us astronomy, and astronomy gives us the planets, and the planets are sometimes not in our favor. So there's been a lot of things that have been hard going for the last several years. And now a lot of people are starting to feel the relief of that. There's a release from that pressure. And so the call to everybody, to humankind right now, is working in collaboration and harmony with one another. So people who have this charisma idea as an underpinning really can go, well, I can hang my hat on that because it's a bit of a checklist, at least I can check in with. And so, Greg, what for people, and also get out a paper and pen, because the list is fairly long. We've got 10 points to get through. So what's the next point on the charisma list? It's
substance. And I'm trying to teach my financial advisors this every day, week in, week out, month in, month out. And probably one of the most challenging times in our business was 2020, is substance. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Mm-hmm. Want that to just sink in and resonate. And Jacky, you're an expert on this one, so take that one away.
For me, like I share with both of you, since childhood and up to adulthood, is I recognize that God has given me certain skills and talents. Mm-hmm. And he didn't give me every skills and talents. He gave me certain skills and talents, and I recognize it from day one. However, at the same time, what makes it challenging is because society has programmed us to follow what's the norm, or what's used to fit in. For me, I didn't buy that idea, because instinctively I just know that I was different from day one. And from that, making a lot of mistakes, and recognize, you know what, that makes total sense to be myself. If I can be myself and help other people be themselves, the world will have very few problems. Why we have problems today is because we're not ourselves. So we're always trying to be other people. And at the end of the day, we're always scratching our head. Who am I? Who am I? Who am I? What's my style? What's my style? Of course you're lost. If you're lost, how can you help other people? It's kind of like you're going in the forest and you're lost. Can you help other people to get out of the forest? That is silliness. Yeah. So the goal is to be yourself and stick to it and recognize it and apply it. And through time, it'll come from that humble, natural beingness that, as a result, for me, when let's say help Greg or help anyone, my psyche process is, first of all, I don't talk about the product and services. Why? Because that's not important. If you and I don't have a connection, how can we talk product and services? That's not practical. Versus my psyche is thinking, how may I be of service? Because God has given me this. It totally makes sense. How may I be of service? So as a result, I'll ask you questions. Greg, so tell me, what is your vision? What are you trying to achieve in your business? Who are you interacting with? Is that important to you? What's the impression for you? And when you tell me these kind of things, then as a result, I will have the solution, which is my product and services, to get you there. That applies to every business on the planet.
Love that, Jacky. And great perspective, because what you did is you just made the context for the next one, which is communication. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Is you didn't pull out your measuring tape and get right to business. You actually asked me, Greg, what are you trying to accomplish? Share with me your vision. You asked me deep questions, which just blew me away, again, because we interact with different people every day in our lives, whether it's to do business with or whether it's in our relationships. And Jacky, that's one thing that you just excelled, and why I was even more drawn to you and what you were trying to do, is you didn't sell me anything right out of the gate. We spent probably a good 90 minutes get to know one another, and you asked me some really good questions, And again, that communication style and just working on communication, that is one of the key components of this whole charisma movement. How can you be a better communicator? So Leaha, you've got tons and tons of experience and wisdom on this topic. You take it away.
Well, I think that it's to your point that there's talking and there's listening. And so those are two parts of your list. So in terms of the communication being an overall goal, you have to be able to catch and you have to be able to receive what the messages are. So there's lots of things that get in the way of that. And in this episode, we're talking about men. And so it's like, where the men are, where are the men? And part of the problem is that the men don't know what they're supposed to be even throwing out there, I think, a lot of the time. So in the query and asking good questions, that kind of bypasses, some of the problems in terms of communicating between men and women, but even between men and men. It probably helps a whole big bunch. And listening, of course, and asking good questions, but attending is another big one. So I see a lot of people will have their devices out and they're not listening to anything that anyone has to say because they're so busy on their phone. It's like, this is the thing that's going to kill us, is this. It's like, okay, I'm going to order pizza. And what did you say? Yeah. So, you got on the hot date with whoever it is, or you're having your really most important business meeting, or your kid's graduating from high school and you're on the phone. And Christmas that just passed, people are on the phone. So one of the things I encourage people to do, first thing, is start making some agreements about your devices and how you manage your devices. And they are, where we hold love in our body is in our hands. So everything that we touch has love in it. Yeah. So it's like when we clap, even applause, that's showing that we love something, right? When we put food in our mouth and we use our hands, that actually creates this thing where we love food. So it can create some problems. So why people smoke, those kinds of addiction things are hard. But hands, this is where all of our sensory stuff is at. So they've got us with these devices because we're always touching them, we're feeling them, we're like, where's my phone? It's like you could lose your 2-year-old and but the phone is what you're going to be freaked out about. Oh my God, my phone. So look, Greg's got two.
I got two. I'm the guy with two phones.
It's got his backup phone. So that's because he's going to say, because he needs to listen with both ears. See? So that's right. He's got a reason for doing that. So got your back there, Greg. But to your point, it's the communication thing is important. Listening, hearing, but attending. So making eye contact, being there in person if you can, which has also been hijacked from us. For those people who are playing along with the shenanigans and all that good stuff, people are not getting together. They're not getting together in person. They're not talking about important things because they're just not spending time together over meals or just in regular family gatherings or even regular business gatherings when we're doing all this Zoom stuff. I was just at my uncle's funeral. Goodbye, Uncle Tom. Love you, man. Before I came on here. And so he's 92 years old. Normally what we would be doing is I wouldn't have been doing this podcast today. I would have been going, hey, Greg, you're going to have this handled. I would have been down in my little hometown, Viking, going to his funeral and then hugging my cousins who have lost their father. And it was timely. It was fine. But just everyone's got sorrow and grief. And there's none of that happening for the past, like we're getting on to a full year now. So the normal sort of hijacking of relationships has to be counterbalanced by our very conscious effort to adhere to or start to develop ways of communicating that are authentic online, that hold people in positive regard and show care and compassion for each other. So that's I know, like, a lot, but there's a lot of differences between 2019 and 2020, when people were still getting together. 2020 is not the same. It's not the same. It's apples and oranges, really. So it's another complexity. Yeah. So that's my thoughts on that, guys.
Well, you said the next word on the list. The word out of your mouth was compassion. That's another one of the 10 things of this. The whole traits or characteristics that can really build charisma in yourself and what you really need to work towards. Compassion is so, so important. So I'm just going to read this little excerpt, is that successful charismatic leaders are also compassionate.
Mhm.
Charisma alone may not be enough, because there's a very real possibility that it can actually disintegrate into mere hero worship. Compassion, integrity, honesty, and fortitude are also qualities that successful charismatic leaders exhibit. And question back over to Leah, over to you, and then you can toss the ball back down to Jacky, is, would you agree that we need more men as good charismatic leaders? Leah.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely, 100%. For sure. Because then you've got a standard that you're holding yourself to. Well, and charisma is about also consistency, I think, of, showing up, that whole substance thing. And I'll show a meme in a little bit of what some of the funny things that are going around right now. Oh my gosh. Anyway, but this, like, compassion is having compassion for yourself and your family. It's not letting yourself be run over either, which I think is kind of what people are taking compassion as, is that you have this open heart, therefore you turn the other cheek and you let things happen to you. But in that, we're letting things happen to ourselves and our families without really being compassionate to our own health, our family's health, our bank accounts. And so what I've seen in this last little while, and I think the call to action for men is, like, are there men who are still able to protect, provide, profess, which is Steve Harvey's little soliloquy from his Act Like a Woman, Think Like a Man book, which I just went, oh, that's a brilliant book. So, but protect is one of the things. It's like, so all of that, and protect falls in line with the charisma bit. So, but you've got to have compassion for what's going on for yourself and your family, and understand that you may need to protect your family. And that is part of being charismatic also. What do you think about that, Jacky? Is that a little wild?
No. I think when one person's more compassionate, it comes from oneself first. When you take care of yourself, when you love yourself so a lot or so much, as a result, you're able to be more compassionate with others. Because if you're not compassionate toward yourself, what makes one thing we can be more compassionate with others? We don't know how to. So it's kind of like in dressing, right? If you don't know how to dress for yourself, how do you teach other people to dress? So it comes from within first. But a lot of times we're taught at a very young age to care for other people first, and as a result, we don't know how to do that as a result, and that's one of the flaws in the way we were ingrained to know. So come from ourselves first, to be compassionate, care for ourselves, take care of ourselves, love ourselves. It sounds very easy, but to do it is more trickier. It's the subtlety. Yeah.
Well, Jacky, that was a great segue to the next one. And taking action is probably the biggest thing. So you bring up the next point, which is actually self-monitoring. And I just want to read the excerpt on this particular component of charisma. Self-monitoring. One of the attributes of charismatic leaders is that they often tend to watch themselves. They are aware of their powerful personality and the fact that their followers are watching them constantly. So that could be my little birds, for example, or family. They're watching and we're setting an example, and we want to make sure that we're setting a good example for them. But even our coworkers, our clients, you want to make sure that, they're watching you constantly as well. So that self-monitoring, Jacky, to your point, it's so important. And for this reason, they consider it important to portray a good image of themselves to their followers and their clients, their families, right? So this can be only achieved through that self-monitoring. And one thing, Jacky, that I really, really appreciate you, my friend, is that you've helped me in a way that I can't even begin to describe, because there's so many words I could use to describe it. And one that I'm going to throw back at you is amplify. Can I get your thoughts on that, the word amplify?
Greg, what I want to know is, what did I do to amplify for you to think of that word? Can you share with me before I answer that?
Great question. Is you helped me in your questioning and getting to know me of really looking inside my heart.
Yes.
Who is Greg Bird? Who does Greg Bird want to start today and reverberate in the future and to be? And you helped me answer those very questions. And I quite honestly answered, I want to be a better man. I want to be a better dad to my kids. I want to be a better coworker. I want to be a better advisor to my clients. I want to be a better friend to my network, a better cousin, nephew, you name it, to all those birds and Slavics out there. There's a many of them, right, Leah?
There's more than 5, that's for sure.
There's a few. So guys, I love you all. But
Yes.
Jacky, you made me answer that question first, and that's where it starts. So back to you.
So the thing is, the answers for ourselves is already within ourselves. It's not external, it's internal. But the question is, who is willing and care enough to get to know one person for us to share our vision, our dreams and goals with other people? And that's a challenge. Not because we don't know how to, is do we want to first? For me, why I created my business, because I want to. I've been blessed with my skills and talents, and I've went through all the ups and downs. For me to learn all these traits, these skills and talents. And as a result, I know my goal is to allow other men and eventually other ladies to share who they choose to be in their lifetime, in their business, in their family, for them to live a successful life. So for me, what I do, just ask you a few simple questions, listen really compassionately, really empathetically, and allow you to share. And then from you sharing, you already solve your own thing already, not me telling you what it is. And that's the magic. It's already laid within us, not from outside.
You said the word magic. So there's a few things that pop up when you actually type in charisma. It says, is charisma magical? Leah, what's your comments on that?
Well, it can be magical. It can also get you in a lot of trouble. So you've got to mind your, like that internal wisdom of knowing when to amplify things and when to not amplify things. So there's an internal wisdom that happens of being grounded and rooted in the world and not performing for other people, but understanding that other people they are watching and they are being influenced. So then you need to decide, I guess, how you want to be, what kind of influence you want to be. And just to swing back a little bit about, being told to do everything, be everything, that's very agrarian. So you've got to be able to take care of all the animals. You got to be able to take care of the garden and the grass and the crops and the family and bring meals to the field and drive every piece of equipment and be. And so when you, right? And it has to for the survival of whatever it is you're doing. So, but there has been a shift, I think, that's been really good for a lot of people where they've gone to being able to play with their strengths. And I think that's come out in the last 15, 20 years of management schools. Wayne Gretzky talked about that, playing to play to your greatest, not your weakness. And that was part of why they did so well in their hockey, was that he just did his thing and the team did their thing. So they didn't all try to be Wayne and he didn't try to be everybody else. So that's the same for us. I think finding our wheelhouse, but that can change over a span of time too. So depending on the age and stage of life that you're at, if you've got children or you don't have children, or if you've got grandchildren or you don't have grandchildren, your age and stage can change what you value even and how you want to show up differently. So I think it's a morphing, it's a metamorphosis of things, and having flexibility around that, and also compassion for yourself that maybe, you used to like wash and dry dishes, but you don't like to do that anymore. So you can give it up. You could have been the best dishwasher in the world, and maybe you don't want to do that anymore, right? but mom, you're the best. You're the best at doing that. Like, yeah, that's good. And I'm done. Thanks.
Oh my God. You just reminded me of something so funny. So I used to work with my dad and the crew, and we're out there in the 30-degree summer, middle of July, and we're doing basements. And there was one job that everybody always hated. And here's me, the new guy, tarring the basement. And they're like, Greg, you're doing such a good job.
Right. Such a good job. Sucker. Just kidding.
But I tarred that basement every single time, and I did a good job. But again, what I learned from all that, I look back, and it taught me the value of $1 and that hard work. And I remember the first job I ever did with Dad was I made $10, and the best part of that day wasn't even the $10. It was that he bought me an ice cream cone on the way home from work. I love that. I'll remember that more than the $10 bill.
Right. The bonding. So what about, what's the next point in the list of charisma, gentlemen?
Well, I will start by saying the next one is self-improvement. And that is one big one that we don't know everything, nor is it's impossible to know absolutely everything. So one thing I teach, even my newer advisors, is guys, just always put a core value of lifelong learning in place. And that's what this mentorship club I started doing, and we just got off that call as I jumped onto this one, is always be learning. That self-improvement of learning knowledge base, gaining wisdom, experience, but don't be afraid to share that with the world. And just, that's always a self-improvement thing. And just getting that bravery to do that, I think, is important. Jacky, if you want to build on that.
Yeah. So I'll give you an example. So throughout, let's say, you're talking fashion style, right? So when I dated my previous girlfriends criticized how I dressed. So one of them says, "Oh, Jacky, you always dress plaid shirts. They're very boring." And for me, my ego kicks in really quick too. But at the same time, I choose to be open-minded, because if I'm blocking her idea, which means I'm blocking myself, I won't do that. So I recognize what she shared with me, and through time, I recognize, you know what, I usually dress the same old thing all the time. So I chose to dress differently, and through time, all these ideas from my partners allowed me to gain more new insights. And today, when people say, "Jacky, you dress nice," it's because it's not from me, it's from them giving me these ideas, but my willingness to take their pointers allowed me to evolve. So being willing to learn is very critical. Like, that's one of the most critical traits that anyone can have. That applies to anything in life. Willing to learn, willingness to evolve.
Yeah, brilliant. And so learning and creating, I think, go hand in hand too. So a lot of people will get into learn, and then they don't create anything. So they just are buried in the books, and they say, "I'm learning lots." I go, "Yeah, you're what?"
Yeah, you're not doing it.
you're not actually expressing it in the world. And so when you got the whole book, a shelf of self-help books, or how to knit and how to garden and how to stain glass, this and that, and you haven't done a single thing, but I've read them all. And so I think that's a differentiation that people can go, "Oh, you know what? I've been stuck in learning. I've been stuck in learning mode for 30 years because my walls are bare. I'm wearing the same thing I wore 30 years ago when I rolled out of bed, and I haven't created anything new in anywhere. Not my kitchen, not my bedroom, not my wardrobe, like nowhere in my life am I creating." And we're born to create. So when we don't create, we're stagnant. And so I would invite that as a little add-on to the continuous learning. Yes, because learning is only ever expressed when learning is only becomes wisdom when you can do it.
Yes.
That's wisdom, right? Yeah. Yeah.
But there's something behind it that blocks our doing. And that's another discussion. I'll give you an example too, like for my own experience. I wanted to ride, I'm not sure if I told Greg before, I wanted to ride a bike since last year since 2001. For 19 years, I wanted to ride a bike. But I thought in my mind, "Oh, one day I'll do it. One day I'll do it." And so, which means I procrastinated for 19 years. Because one of the things I was afraid of was I was afraid of that I didn't know what bike to buy. What need do I have? So I chose not to start. So because I was being the perfectionist mentality, I want to be perfect before I do something, which is illogical, right? But I've done that for 19 years until this year, COVID-19 hit. I'm like, nothing to do here. You know what? I wanted to do some more fun things. So I bought a mountain bike to start. And through time, within a few months, I realized, you know what? From the mountain bike to time, I got myself another road bike. And so now I'm backtracking. Why did I procrastinate for 19 years? Silliness. I should buy any other bike 19 years ago, make a lot of mistakes. Within a few months, you'll get better. But I was afraid. I was afraid of making that mistake, afraid of the unknown, afraid of what I didn't like. That trapped me for that amount of time. It's just to be free. To be free from our mind is one of the critical parts in our life. That's why they call it overthinking. They don't say it overfeeling. It's overthinking, right?
So I'm going to go right out in the weeds and ask this question. What, because it's a show about men. What are men afraid of? What are men most afraid of?
Do you want my honest opinion?
Greg, your turn. Yeah. What are we afraid of?
Sure.
Oh my God, Leah, we can get out of the weeds on this one. Jacky, we've had some good ones. How about internet dating? No. Oh my God, what a crapshoot that is. But let's keep focused here.
Right, but
I'm gonna steer away from that one. But
I think
what are men afraid of?
if we're talking about financial well-being, if we're talking about financial well-being and the what's men's biggest fear, maybe we can segue into it that way, or
Perfect segue. So the biggest fear for any man is looking terrible. Honestly, we always want to put an image. But Jacky taught me one thing, and he's a master at this. So pay attention to what his reply would be or comments on this. So if I were to read this paragraph on positive body language, is one of the 10 characteristics of charisma. Is one of the first things that you'd notice about a charismatic leader or a man is their warm, open, and positive body language. Mm-hmm. They make eye contact. We talked about that, Leah, with who they're talking to. They're smiling. They're introducing themselves to strangers with the genuine joy of making a new contact. Okay, they have an endearing swagger and they are authentic. Now, Jacky, where does that authenticity begin?
That authenticity comes from the core from day one. From the moment that, I don't know, it can be 4 years old, 5 years, whichever at some point comes from day one. Through time, knowing oneself and being oneself and doing what oneself is destined to do, that allows a natural, this cannot be seen. This is very energy force, right? An energy force that within oneself, you naturally ooze that heart and that character that other people not only feel, they know as a result. It comes from within. So when for example, me, I get from, if you guys ever see my wardrobe collection, you'll be really excited about it too, because I get excited about my wardrobe so much behind the scenes, that when I meet other people, I get oozing off my energy. Hey, Leah, this is how you can do things. Hey, Greg, when you do this and you get this, because I'm doing it myself. First is, if I don't do it, I can have the best communication, best body language. There'll still be a disconnect because it's not aligned. That alignment is what allows us to flow and accept from each other. That's come from the authenticity. So alignment from oneself, knowing oneself, doing oneself. As a result, authenticity is very natural. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's more of the unseen. Because a lot of stuff in society, we talk about the stuff that we can see. But what about the stuff that we cannot see? We don't really tap into that.
Love that, Leah. You're wise on this one. And we talked about this because everybody has 5 physical senses, right? And then we hear this mythical 6th sense, but is there more? And how can we really be cognizant of that? This energy that Jacky talks about, actually kind of funny that I bring up Darth Vader in the Force of Star Wars, but it's a real thing. Like people can feel energy. And if it starts in here and you're just having one of those blah days, I'll just ask you a question, Leah, like if I were dressed like an absolute slob right now, would you trust me with your money?
No, and I'd wonder if you were okay because I know you. So I'd be like, hey, are you okay? Because that would just be weird, very strange, right? But that would be a sign that something is off. But no, although in the past I might have done that. If I was buying you a coffee, say if you were by a dumpster, then I could I bring you in for a coffee and we could have a chat to make sure you're all right. And you've had a nice hot meal. All joking aside, I've done that for sure, but I wouldn't trust you with my, no, probably not. Although also sharp dressed people have sometimes taken money.
You know what? You pick up a good point. There's the whole underpinning that, Jacky, thank you for bringing it up, is the underlying doing good, is that people can take these same things and use charisma for the dark side and flip and take advantage of people. So, Jacky, do you want to maybe comment on that?
That's kind of like, give you an example. It's kind of like a car. A Hyundai can make it look like a Bentley, but it would never be a Bentley. So our character does not only come from our appearance. That's part of it. That's not the majority of it. Even though society prejudged or labels as, okay, better dress is more trustworthy. No, it's not. It comes from, like I said, the internal first, and then knowing oneself and being oneself and doing oneself, and through time, dressing in a way that aligns the internal. That's what we're talking about. So when you say, okay, people dress, yes, of course, people that dress very well, they talk very smooth, that's a red flag. Why would they talk that smooth? Versus why don't they be themselves, and then you trust them as a result, makes more sense. Right? When something is so great, there's something behind it. Only through time, with our tapping into our instincts, we can know if other people are trustworthy or not, authentic or not, beyond dressing.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because we were talking about this earlier today before we jumped on the call about there's a reason why employers have a 3-month window of bringing employees into their space so that they can invite them to leave if they're not a good fit without there being any consequence. But in our life, we rush into these things and get into all kinds of hot water because whatever our own lack of, and pot kettle, like we've all done it and gone afterwards. Oh, why didn't I wait? So there's this larger wisdom, I think, the old wisdom coming back, where it is like know somebody for all the seasons, which would be a full year, so all the seasons of, and then get to know them for all the seasons of life before you dive right in. And I thought that's a wild concept, but I met a really good man probably 10 years ago. And his first meeting with me, he said, I wouldn't let any woman touch me for at least 2 years. And I was just like, what? Because it was so wow. Odd, because usually that was not my experience of men. And I just went, well, that was refreshing. Holy moly. You wouldn't let anyone touch you for 2 years. Wow. That is incredible. But he said, yeah, you don't know people. Like, I guess you don't. That's true. But we make the assumption because we live in the same culture, or that we've grown up kind of in the same general area, that we would have the same set of values. But you get wiser to that. You need sort of this, the values match has to be part of your, the big underscore of your life. So proximity, chemistry, shared values, and commitment in relationships. And if you don't have shared values, you can't even really know that right out of the chute. But we assume because people look a certain way or talk a certain way, oh yeah, they probably think the same way as me. But we've got no guarantee until back to your guys' first point, which is asking really great questions on communication and not being swayed by the package that the thing comes in, whether it's a guy or a woman, either way. It's like, I just think I need some time to get to know that entity, that being, a little bit, to see what's all behind the.
Well, first of all, we have to understand what is each gender's objective. Who are they as a character? Even I teach my lady friends, men only want certain things in the beginning, especially. And some ladies, surprisingly, don't know that. And so when they make a mistake, they blame the men. I disagree. If you don't understand the other party, you should blame yourself.
Right.
But nowadays both genders have double standards, right? And when we have that, we actually blind ourselves from the actual truth rather than learn from our mistakes, owning it, and moving forward.
So enlighten us. I want to know.
What do you mean?
What are the things? What are the things that women should know?
Can I just say that very bluntly?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So even men may not admit this to themselves because takes a certain person to be that transparent. So nowadays, there's many single ladies out there and many single men out there. So men are taught to understand ladies. They have to be loved, taken care of, and confidence this and sense of humor, all the fun stuff. But if you ask the other side, hey, ladies, what do men want? Now they're clueless. They don't know actually what men want. Men want 3 things. First of all, is a challenge. They want to be challenged in the beginning, especially. And to time, they still want to be challenged. Second thing is they want sex. That's innate. But ladies label that as bad. Oh, they want sex. Well, that's kind of saying a lady that wants to be romantic is bad too. That's silliness. Right. The third thing is they want to be appreciated, which ladies don't know how to appreciate them. They think by them reciprocating the man's action to them, they'll feel love. And that's not true for men. It sounds very easy for this three, but to apply it for the ladies is very challenging. Leah, what do you think?
Yeah. So what do you think is the biggest challenge? No, I agree. I think that it's like, what's the biggest challenge?
The challenge is ladies nowadays, they have given up on men's well-being. They don't trust that men will give them what they want. As a result, they give half of the men to the men. They give half themselves or even less than half themselves to the men. And as a result, the men are more weary now. Oh, if you give me half, I'm going to play around. I'm going to be more casual. So as a result, both our genders are playing the game, not being sincere. That's why there's a disconnect nowadays. That's why there's many people single online, because we're trying to put our guard defense mechanism, but we want to attract our ideal partner. That's not practical when both of us is pretending, giving half ourselves. So we can't commit.
Right. Well, and that's for the ones who are single. And then there's all the ones who are in relationship with people where they got into the relationship in that half-baked state and made commitments. And then now they're all trying to.
Yeah, they're very mushed up already. So let's say the people that are in relationships. If you actually look at the relationship, the ladies through time, they're more into the relationship than men because they're more emotional. Men, like I said, needs to be challenged. So when the ladies take care of them, give them everything. Now they're not challenged. So which means ladies did not give men number one. And now if you give men number two sex that quickly, that's even worse. So no challenge, giving sex, which means you don't have the steps proper. And later on, you don't appreciate them by acknowledging, hey, honey, you're so amazing when you clean the dishes for me or you take out the garbage for me. They don't do that. They're resentful because the men did not give the woman what they need. Now the women are now very resentful. Now they can't appreciate the men number three. So which means the steps, it's not applied properly. And as a result, the foundation is shaken. Like the house foundation is shaken. So it cannot be sustained. And as a result, through time, causes more problems. Financial kicks in. Debt kicks in. Kids kicks in. Stress kicks in. Now the foundation is shattered. Yeah. Does that make sense? So
yes, it does. And very, very good perspective there, Jacky. And you know, we're coming up on the hour, but there's one example. You have a good friend, and you don't have to say her name, but I just want you to share with the audience, what was her aha moment? You know who I'm talking about, right? The one from Calgary.
Oh, yes. Yes. My lady friend from Calgary, she's single and she's pretty much given up on men because of their actions towards her. But one thing she doesn't really, or not one thing, a few things that she doesn't really see is, like I told her, okay, men want three things. They want more things, but three things is fundamental, right? Do they have a challenge? Not really. So I say to her, show me your text online. And I look at the text and I'm like, okay, that's no challenge for the men. So it's not good. So when you small chat with the men, I'm going to tell you straight up, small chat with men leads to sex. It sounds very awkward at first, but if you actually think about it, men without the challenge would not lead to their heart opening. No challenge leads to sex. So you have to, and I said there, okay, challenge, delay the intimacy down the road until when? Until his heart opens. He has to do task for you, and through time, then goes sex, then his heart opens. That's how it works. But we in society nowadays are so rushed into the finish line. And as a result, there's no foundation. So which means there's nothing to start with.
Jacky, some great points. And Leah, we've been banging our head against the wall trying to understand this. And the social experiments we could share with the audience today. But we're not going to get into the weeds on that. So Jacky, just to flip it back to in business and just in, promoting ourselves for our vocations and a living, this whole charisma movement, which again, I really think of you as the person that can really fuel and amplify that piece of it, where you kind of leaned on me. Let's have the voice. Let's have the stage to launch this, which thank you, Leah, today. You would agree, we need more men in the world. Like, be a man, right? So how can we do that? We're trying to give back to the men out there, this charisma movement, that you need to understand these points. And if you see it fitting, Leah, before we get to the song of the day, can I recap the top 10 things that you need to work on? So
yes,
right from the top.
Yeah.
Number 1, guys, communication. Number 2, maturity. Number 3, humility. Number 4, compassion. Number 5, substance. Number 6, confidence. I'm going to say humble confidence. Number 7, positive body language. Number 8, listening skills. Number 9, self-monitoring. And number 10, self-improvement. And Leah, what you identified is the whole underpinning, which is?
Creation. So also, before we wrap this show, for people who are listening, for guys who are listening, for men who are listening, there's lots of families who have not had dads in the family. So this has created a whole other problem in society where young men don't have good mentors that are good male mentors. And so as soon as these guys approached me about talking about this topic, I went, we've got to talk about this topic. This is just critical. It's so critical. Young people are taking their lives at a higher rate than ever before. Suicide is the number 2 reason for death in the young people. And I don't know what the Canadian stat is. Men's suicide rates are up by about 30%. So it is a very critical time that people understand that we're joking around and laughing and having a good time, with the purpose and the full intent of putting out there that people are available for people to talk to about these things. So it's not just that you can learn how to be, listen to your own internal voice of wisdom and then sit there in your dark hole and hope that you come up with a solution. If you're struggling with things, then reach out for help. Because whether it's talking about how you look and how you're, carrying yourself through life, or if you need to talk about finances or building community, those things, that's what we're about on this show. So just want to put a little shout out about that to anybody who might be listening, or if you have a family member who's struggling, you can never be a prophet in your own village, guys. You might have been talking to somebody till you're blue in the face, trying to get them help or trying to get them to figure things out or have an uplifted spirit, and they just haven't been able to do it. Then we know that. So send them our way, that's for sure. And we'll do what we can to either serve and support ourselves or connect them with somebody who can help them with whatever it is that they're trying to figure out. So back to you, Greg.
Well, I love what you said. Community is so important. And that is our third pillar of our charisma movement. There's myself, there's Jacky, and there's Romy, who I think Jacky did come up with the idea, but we helped develop it as a team. We needed the 3 of us because we each have our different skill sets of how to launch this thing to make this movement. And Leah, you said the importance of it. Man, could we ever need this in the world where we need more men, is the words you said. That was your quote. Mm-hmm. So community, and you speak about the importance of that. And Romy, that part of it, he's all about building community, not only of men, but Jacky, when you did your last big presentation, you actually had a runway show, and there's many, many women that were around the table. And the biggest thing and the coolest thing is they came up to you and they said, Jacky, can us women be a part of your movement as well? And Jacky, just your response on that.
You know what? I didn't recall it that far, but yeah, it'll be awesome one day for myself to inspire ladies too, because both genders need our help today more than ever before. Society has evolved in technology-wise, but in personal life-wise, not as much. We're still very backward. Yeah. So it's our responsibility to hear each other out, and hopefully can inspire at least one person to save one life that's worth our purpose in our life. Yeah,
and well said. I'm going to just throw a name out there because I know you know who it was who approached you, and she loved your photo when I did the little teaser. Her name was Jacqueline. So a little throw to you, Jacqueline. I know you're listening live because you're one of the newest subscribers to Leah's Master Your Life show. So guys, I think this is fitting. Leah, we've been on this kick to the 1960s, some music from the 60s. And I had to go, and I think you agreed, we had to go with something from the Beatles.
We did. Yes, we did, and we do. So
we do. And there's a lot of different songs I could choose, but I thought this one today was very fitting. By the Beatles, Can't Buy Me Love. Are you ready? All right. If you ever listen to the lyrics of this song, you'll get it, because I got goosebumps now. I'm about to sing it.
He's gonna sing it.
No, I'm not.
This is really stepping up his game, Jacky.
No, but you can sing it in your minds because you know the tune. Ready? So, are you ready? Can't buy me love. Oh, I'll buy you a diamond ring, my friend, if it makes you feel all right. I'll get you everything, my friend, or anything, my friend, if it makes you feel all right. Because I don't care too much for money can't buy me love. I'll give you all I've got to give if you say you'll love me too. I may not have a lot to give, but what I've got, I'll give to you. I don't care too much for money can't buy me love. And I can go on and sing the chorus, can't buy me love, oh, everyone tells me so, can't buy me love, oh, no, 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 no. So you don't need no diamond rings, and say you don't need no diamond rings, and I'll be satisfied. Tell me that you want the kind of things that money just can't buy. I don't care too much for money can't buy me love. And then, of course, they go on, buy me love, and they're all about repeating their lyrics. Everybody tells me so. Can't buy me love, oh, no, 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 no. Buy me love, oh. So there you go, Leah.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, gentlemen. And so anyone who wants to reach out to Greg or Jacky, you'll be able to do that through their email addresses, which we'll put in the show notes. Me, you can check out all my shenanigans on my Linktree. So Leah Mattinson at Linktree. Just make sure you spell my name right. So Leaha, ha, 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 ha. Ah, exactly. Invite you all to Jacky. Thank you so much for being a wonderful guest. Hopefully we'll be able to have you on again to actually do the finishing conversation, because I think there is one. Definitely. And just invite everyone to love yourselves, love each other, mind your mind. That's all for us. Peace.
Thank you, Leah.
Everybody.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks, Leah.
Thank you for being a part of our program today. Master Your Life is a presentation of Leaha Mattinson Enterprises, Inc. Join us next time on Master Your Life, helping you to discover the very best of you.